Who is going to be on the Mortal Kombat 1 roster and the Cameo roster? First things first, let's break down the main roster, and I'm just going to go ahead and list the characters who we automatically know are going to make it on the main roster. We got Sub-Zero, Ken Shi, Kitana, Liu Kang, Scorpion, Johnny Cage, Mileena, Kung Lao, Shang Tsung, and Raiden. We know as a 100% fact these characters are going to be on the main roster. We saw them in the trailer and we saw gameplay. We did see other characters, but they were only cameos in the trailer, so I'm not too sure if they're going to be on the main roster, but I'll get to some of those later. Let's just go ahead and fill up the next top row, and that's going to be Rain, Nitara, Cabal, and Serena. I didn't see Nitara making it into Mortal Kombat 11 or Mortal Kombat X, but now that we have the air juggle combos, I can see Nitara making it into this game and kind of flying since she has wings. It would be really cool to see that dynamic. Rain, I believe, is going to be on the base roster because he was a DLC in Mortal Kombat 11 and 9. I think this is going to be the game where he finally makes it onto the base roster. Cabal, on the other hand, is a little bit iffy. He could be DLC main roster. I'm not too sure. He was actually one of the last people I put on this roster. And Serena's a pretty obvious choice because a lot of people loved her in Mortal Kombat 11, so I think it would be a no-brainer to put her in as the base roster again or DLC in Mortal Kombat 1. Let's jump over to the right side here, and we got Serena, Ermac, Li Mei, Kintaro, and Scream. And Ghostface or Scream, whatever you want to call him, can probably be replaced with Michael Myers instead. For Serena and Li Mei, we saw both of those characters in the Mortal Kombat X story. We didn't get to play them in Mortal Kombat 11, so this would be a smart move to make them base roster in Mortal Kombat 1. The same kind of goes for Ermac. We saw him in the Crypt version of Mortal Kombat 11, and he got a new skin, but we weren't allowed to play as him, so I think, again, Mortal Kombat 1 would be the great place to add him in. Kintaro can be switched out with Goro. We saw him as a cameo fighter in the gameplay trailer, and it got me a little bit scared because I'm like, dude, if Goro is on a cameo selection and the main roster and Kitaro's not in the game, that is going to suck. Now, right below these characters, we have Shang Tsung, Reptile, Sector, Kano, and Peacemaker. I know, I'm sorry about the Peacemaker one. You know, we all saw that leak, and I really had a hard time figuring out an extra DLC character, so I just threw in Peacemaker. Reptile is another one of those characters that I'm pretty iffy about. He could be cameo or he could be base roster, but I threw him in anyway because he wasn't in Mortal Kombat 11 and we saw him in the Crypt. Sector is one of those other characters that I'm really iffy about because I could see some of these characters being cameo and not on the base roster, especially the Cyber Lin Kuei. But I'm praying that it's one of these situations where we saw them in Mortal Kombat 11, they weren't playable, they got a whole new design, so I'm hoping they are playable in Mortal Kombat 1. Next up is Kano, and again, it's another one of those iffy characters where I'm like, is Kano going to be in the game? I think he's just one of those characters that people don't really care about too much anymore or play a lot of. But the only reason why I have Kano on the main roster is because he's one of the original characters from Mortal Kombat 1. And I think all the original characters are going to be on the base roster. Now let's hop over to the left side and we have Smoke, Sonya Blade, Havoc, Reiko, and Omni-Man. If Smoke's not in the game, I feel like people are going to be so upset. It's just one of those situations where we haven't had human Smoke since Mortal Kombat 9. And since they're rebooting the whole timeline, just throw him in the game. Sonya Blade, again, I think she's one of those characters that not too many people play anymore, but I know I'm a Sonya main in Mortal Kombat 11, but I think it's one of those situations where she was a part of the main roster in Mortal Kombat 1, so she has to be part of the main roster in this new reboot. Reiko and Havoc are those characters that fans have been asking for a very long time. They haven't been playable at all through Mortal Kombat 9 to 11, so this has to be the game that they make it in. Ed Boon also mentioned there's going to be a lot of 3D representation, so these two characters are definitely on that top tier of they have to be in the game. Then finally on the bottom we have Raiden, Cyrex, Quan Chi, Sindel, and Pennywise. Cyrex is on here because of Sector, but I do feel like one of these characters is going to be a cameo. I don't think both of them are going to be. I think one of them is because that's a lot of combo potential as a cameo character. Quan Chi is another one of those iffy characters. The reason why I want him on this roster is so we can see that dynamic between Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. We haven't had that relationship since Mortal Kombat 9, so I think it would be great to have that again in Mortal Kombat 1. Sindel is another one of those iffy characters. The only reason why I have her on here is because I think we can see her in that one stage in the very background, but it's super blurry, but that's the only reason why I have her on the main roster. Moving on to cameo fighters. Let's start off with the first 8. We have Sub-Zero, Kano, Sonya, Jax, Rain, Scorpion, Johnny Cage, and Mileena. I think most of the original Mortal Kombat 1 characters are going to be main roster and cameos. I think they're going to fill up most of the spots on this cameo list. And I threw Rain in here. I feel like most of these cameo characters can be replaced with another character, but I do think there's a lot of combo potential if Rain was a cameo character. Let's go on the right hand side, and we have Ashra, Kung Lao, Ermac, and Devora. I know a lot of people want Astra to be on the main roster, but I think NRS has been building up Serena and Lee Mei way more than they have Astra, so if anything, she's going to be a cameo fighter. Kung Lao is pretty obvious. We already saw him as a cameo fighter in the trailer, so that's a given. Ermac, because I see there's a lot of combo potential if he was a cameo fighter. And Devora, because I just feel like they're going to throw her in there just to throw her in the game. The bottom four, we have Striker, Nightwolf, Natara, and Tanya. Striker is a given because we saw him in the trailer. Nightwolf, because I don't think he's going to be main roster. I think he's just one of those characters that's just going to be subject to cameo fighting. Natara, because I see a lot of combo potential with her wings and how she can fly and do a lot of air juggle combos. Then again, she might just be on the main roster only and not cameo, so you can replace her with another character. And then Tanya, I don't see her being on the main roster, so I think she's going to be subject to cameo. Let's jump all the way to the left-hand side on the top, and we have Jade, Raiden, Movado, and Tremor. I know the Jade one can be a little bit scary because, you know, there's a lot of Jade fans out there and they don't want Jade to be a subject to cameo. They want her on main roster, but the reason why I have Jade as a cameo is because that one interaction between Liu Kang and Katana. Liu Kang basically tells Katana to keep her close. When he says that, I think automatically, okay, keep her close. He's telling Katana to keep Jade close. And I feel like the whole visuals with cameo fighters is always keeping your character close by. So I think Jade might be a cameo fighter. Raiden, because I think he's just going to be one of those main characters that also has a cameo role. Movado, I think could probably be replaced with Cabal, maybe, but it's just one of those things where I'm not too sure. And Tremor, I would love to see Tremor as a main roster character. I think he was phenomenal at NKX, and I think many can agree. So I think maybe one of the characters on the main roster can be replaced with Tremor, but if not, I think he's going to be on the cameo position. Then finally, on the very bottom, we have Boraicho, Baraka, Goro, and Fujin. Right off the bat, we already saw Goro as a cameo fighter, so that's a given. Boraicho, I think it'd be pretty cool to see him coming in as a cameo fighter and then throwing up and then just running right out, or him doing his like front flip kicks. So I think there's a lot of combo potential with Boraicho, or maybe do like one of his like belly lunges. That's really cool. Same thing with Baraka. He can do like his chop chop or maybe his spark blades. There's a lot of combo potential there. And Fujin, same thing. There's a lot of wind abilities that Fujin has that could pop your opponent up and maybe do one of those flying air juggles, or he might be, you know, main roster because of that. But if not, I think cameo is a perfect spot. They can be replaced with a couple characters from the main roster onto the cameo. Like I said, those Cyber Lin Kuei, so Cyrex and Sector, could be cameos. I would love for them to be main roster, but they could be cameos. But let me know in the comment section below, what are your guys' thoughts on my roster wish list? Who would you like to see as cameos and who would you like to see as main roster?